Thank you, Sophie. On Spotlight tonight, power to the people, the rally cry from Somerset. Some have been without it for almost a week. It's the fallout from Storm Dara, leaving some in the dark. The National Grid says it's working on it. Also on the programme this evening, a regional health check.
A winter pressures warning from hospitals as the latest emergency department waiting times are released.
In tonight's inbox, a scam with an online shopping account, the sofa that never arrived, and the hair salon left high and dry.
An appeal from a family to Flambards. They want a sentimental heirloom back from the attraction which closed last month. And size does matter. The latest Christmas trend for a tree that just fits in. Well, almost 1 week on from the last winter storm and still some homeowners are without power. High winds of around 90 miles per hour hit many parts of the region at the weekend, causing damage to supplies. The National Grid says it's working hard to restore services to those who are still in the dark and is now assessing who will be eligible for compensation. Andy Howard reports.
It's been a week of flickering candles, clicking gas stoves and the ticking of generators in West Somerset. Storm Dara battered this coastline, and its parting gift was a power cut, leaving hundreds of households in the dark. At Porlock Weir, the National Grid has paid for a food van where people without power can go for a free meal.
We'll definitely be here till 10, 11 o'clock at night, but if we need to be here till 2 in the morning, we will be.
Fast food after a slow week.
Very difficult. You know, it's cold, as you can see now. It's very cold, and we're all electric. Although we're an old thatched cottage, you know, it's all electric. So we had no heating bar, one small wood burner, and nothing to cook with. Basically, no hot water, no nothing. I mean, we've chucked everything out of the freezers. It was all gone bad. We lost easily £300 worth because we obviously bought stuff in for Christmas and stuff. So that's all gone.
I think it was a very good gesture of National Grid to provide a food van for us. Unfortunately, a couple of days late, as we've sat without power since Saturday. Yeah, it has had quite a big of an impact on us.
There was a more bitter taste left in the mouth a few miles inland. People in the villages of Vello and Capton were without power for almost 100 hours and say National Grid didn't give them the whole truth.
We were told that it would come on in a couple of hours. Every time we called, it was another couple of hours. 2 days went, 3 days went. We've just constantly been lied to, and that is what I am absolutely furious about.
It's a really difficult time for customers to be without electricity. So we've been working around the clock to get them back on as quickly as we can. There is a guaranteed standard of performance payment for eligible customers that is triggered automatically. So we will be contacting them about that in the coming days.
There is now more of a calm after the storm in West Somerset, with many back on the grid.
In the southwest, we are working on everybody who's in storm impacted being back on through the course of tonight.
But questions over how this was all dealt with are going to whip up emotions all over again. Andy Howard, BBC Spotlight.
Police say a body has been found in the search for a former England rugby player who grew up in Cornwall. Northumbria police had been searching for Tom Voice, who played 9 times for England after he failed to return home on Saturday. The force says a body was found near Aberwick Mill in Northumberland, and while formal identification is yet to take place, Voice's family have been notified and are being supported by specialist officers. Now, people in the southwest are being urged to get the flu jab in the next week as NHS bosses warn of a tidal wave of flu and other viruses. Now, it comes as the latest figures for emergency department waiting times show the majority of hospitals in the region are worse than the national average. In Devon, for instance, all the trusts were below the England average, with University Hospital Plymouth NHS Trust was the worst, with more than a third of patients not seen within 4 hours. However, Dorset County Hospital and the Royal Cornwall Hospital performed better than average in November, with just 2 out of 10 patients not seen within the target time. Tamsin Melville has been getting reaction in Cornwall as health bosses warn of winter pressures.
2 years ago, Alison Durkin hit the headlines after delays to emergency care at the Royal Cornwall Hospital led to husband Ross taking her to London for treatment for a heart condition.
I could have arrested in the car.
Jump forward to today and it's a very different story. In early November, Alison needed to go to the Royal Cornwall ED.
I was triaged and I was waiting in the corridor with the ambulance crew 10-15 minutes. And then I was put into a cubicle in the majors. There were a few people on trolleys in the corridor, but it was not nearly as bad as it was 2 years ago.
The couple are full of praise for the under-pressure staff and say while there are obviously still issues, it seemed to them the system is running more smoothly.
The difference between what we saw back in July 2022, which is Alison in ambulance number 33 of 33, and it was a pretty chaotic scene. I think it's one of those sort of credit where it's due stories. I can't tell you what it is, but someone somewhere deserves a lot of credit for the changes they've made.
Figures out today show that here at the emergency department at the Royal Cornwall Hospital in November, nearly 8 out of 10 people were seen within 4 hours. That's above the England average.
We've got a significant investment in making sure that we can provide alternatives to the emergency department in the first instance, keeping patients' care closer to home, but also through that we've been working in collaboration with our colleagues to be slicker and faster at how we can move patients safely out of the hospital into other care providers.
But there's no complacency with those statistics always vulnerable to pressures.
We know that winter is upon us now. We know that we track about 2 weeks behind the national position from a flu perspective. So where you'll have seen in some of the stats the flu numbers going up, we are preparing ourselves for the fact that the flu is likely to be arriving in Cornwall. I would suggest early January time from a pressure perspective for the ED.
With just a week left to be able to book a COVID and flu vaccination online, people who are eligible across the southwest are being urged to do so and help keep the pressure off. Tamsin Melville, BBC Spotlight, Truro.
A tree surgeon from Devon who fell over 40 feet whilst working on Dartmoor says a year on from his accident, he desperately wants his old life back. Fergus Powell's been cared for by a specialist spinal centre outside of the region, but now back home, and he's adjusting to his new way of life. Heidi Davey has Fergus's story.
I feel like I moan a lot, but it's just because I'm just impatient with this life. Like, you know, I want my old life back.
Fergus was removing rotten branches from a tree in Yelverton in August last year when he heard a loud clunk.
I went to the first branch and then I went to the next branch. And then I was hanging there for about a second. I woke up on the floor. I didn't have any pain straight away. I couldn't even see it. It was like everything was like fuzzy. So I fell from just about 14 metres, I think, which is way bigger than a 2-storey house.
The tree surgeon was taken to the Specialist Spinal Treatment Centre in Salisbury, which has been helping patients like him for 40 years.
Good old stretch and then down to the floor for those who can.
Since the accident, he has some sensation below the waist, but his leg use is very limited, with no feeling at all below the knee.
The shower is the nightmare. So I take this leg off and I hold onto that and I literally fall onto it like that. But yeah, when I get down there, I have to get onto that little lip, sit on that padded toilet seat, wriggle into the corner and get showered. It's a bit of a nightmare, really.
Fergus is now having private physiotherapy sessions as he continues to adjust to his new life. And a year on, he's bravely returned to the site of the accident.
Is it like that? No.
Yeah, it's just
it's that tree. It's that tree, isn't it? I've got to see it one day, haven't I? I mean, I was nearly crying this morning because it just felt like too much, but now I'm here, I mean, I feel quite sick. It's just weird. My whole life's changed now from that tree.
And if you have a story to tell, please do email us spotlight@bbc.co.uk. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. Still to come in tonight's Spotlight. Offering a little hope this Christmas, the caravan convoy delivering presents from Devon to Ukraine. Well, it's been a month now since the Flambards tourist attraction near Helston in Cornwall closed its doors for good. Bosses said they simply couldn't make the theme park pay and are now in the process of selling off the assets. But one local family say there's a sentimental family heirloom in one of the historical displays and now they want it back. David Dixon has more.
Flambards has been part of Cornwall's tourism fabric for nearly 50 years with high-profile visitors along the way. But the attraction was more than just rides. It also had historical displays showing what life was like in Victorian Britain and during the Blitz of World War II. But as it now lies empty, there's family heirlooms some local families want returned.
It's my grandmother's World War II VAD uniform, the voluntary aid detachment who trained just civilians to become nurses.
Anna's grandmother Monica was wearing the uniform when she met her grandfather Jerry as he recovered from serious shrapnel injuries received on his second day of active service at Dunkirk in 1940.
So this is the uniform in question, is it?
Yes, that's Granny in her VAD uniform. She would have been about 18 or 19 there, I think.
The historical displays contain a huge number of artefacts, and the boss of Flambards says returning them is complicated because they've been there for such a long time.
Anybody that's contacted us with what we believe is a legitimate claim, we're obviously dealing with. Many people will believe they have a legitimate claim. Our problem is that we have no evidence of this. I'm not just going to open the doors and let people come around and sort of point at them and say, that's mine. It's very difficult. And although a member of the family may be claiming something in return, it might not be due to that member of the family.
The rides here at Flambards are in the process of being dismantled and sold off. The owners have been in touch with the families to say they may be in contact to arrange a return. But for Anna and her family, they say these items have a huge sentimental value. What would you say to the people at Flambards about this uniform?
Please let us have it back. It means so much. It means so much to the whole family because, none of us would be here without that uniform. So, please.
A team of volunteers from Plymouth are taking Christmas presents to people in Ukraine, spreading a little festive cheer to those still in the grips of war. For some, it's their 12th trip over to the country, delivering aid and a much-needed morale boost to those in need. Hattie McCann reports.
A towering pile of presents, ready to go off to children who are facing their third Christmas in wartime.
A lot of children lost their childhood in these very difficult days, and we are trying to do something for their happiness.
They have all been donated by people in Plymouth and have all sorts of items for young people of different ages.
Because this is a young teenage woman, there's obviously some feminine hygiene products. There's a cap, there's some hot water bottle, some lovely socks, a bar of chocolate, some toothpaste.
This isn't even all of them.
We'll be looking at about 400 in total by the time we get there. We've had to get a third caravan just to put the Christmas boxes in.
The team have been blown away by people's generosity when they are facing difficulties themselves.
It's very humbling that people can donate in such times of austerity and the cost of living crisis, etc. It's very humbling.
All of the presents will be taken over to Ukraine in caravans, which will be left in the country to be used as homes or as warm shelters for soldiers on the front.
Solar panel, generator, and diesel heater station.
The caravans are also carrying aid.
We have a lot of medical staff, surgery staff, equipment of first aid, dialysis machine, ultrasound machine.
On top of everything else they are taking, this team provides something vital to those they help in Ukraine.
Nadia. Hope.
Hattie McCann, BBC Spotlight, Plymouth.
It's time to see what you've been emailing us about this week. Here's Natalie with the inbox.
Thanks very much. Judy emailed us because she'd been scammed. She has a Klarna account, which is used for online shopping. You can buy now and pay later.
On the 30th of September, I was walking my dog when I got a call from a man saying he was from Klarna. I told him it was a scam, but he was very persuasive and said that my account had been compromised and he needed to lock it. He was going to send me some codes which I needed to give him, which I duly did. Within 4 minutes, I had £1,000 taken out of my account. I immediately phoned Klarna customer support and the purchases were put into dispute.
But Klarna came back to Judy and said they were not fraudulent purchases. She was so out of pocket she went back to them but found she was number 150 in the queue. That's when she turned to us. We contacted Klarna and they've told us it's all sorted. Judy's had her money back and has been given £200 as a gesture of goodwill. They said we should have spotted these were fraudulent purchases sooner and we're looking to make improvements in our processes to ensure that customers don't have to suffer like Judy has. Tanya and Laura own a hair salon in Cornwall where they've been having trouble with BT. Their phone line was being upgraded to fibre, but the order kept getting cancelled and then reinstated, leading to long delays, stress and extra costs. There were more than £1,000 out of pocket.
We have lost count of the amount of times that this order has been cancelled and redone by BT and Openreach. Every time Openreach turn up to do the work, they find a problem. There's a problem with the address. There's a problem with something called a NAD key. Just countless. They will always manage to find a problem.
Well, we contacted Openreach and BT, and after a few more weeks, everything has been installed. Tanya and Laura are now waiting to hear about compensation. Helen was at her wit's end when she contacted us.
I ordered a sofa with dusk on the 14th of October. It was in stock and it was due to be delivered very quickly. That delivery got cancelled and then it got cancelled multiple times after that. It's almost impossible to get hold of anybody at dusk. They don't reply to emails, they don't reply to the contact form. I've tried Facebook Messenger, Instagram, I've tried everything I can think of. I even managed to get hold of a dusk phone number which isn't publicly available, but the phone lines are always down, there's never anyone to speak to you. I'm losing the will to live with it, to be honest.
Well, Helen was worried that she'd lost her money. We contacted Dusk and she's had a full refund. Daisy placed an online order with Iceland for the first time. When it arrived, the chicken that they'd been looking forward to was out of date. It started to smell, so she threw it away. She tried to complain but didn't get anywhere. We approached Iceland. Daisy's had a full refund and been given an additional £25. Iceland also offered to deliver a fresh chicken. There we go. If you'd like to get in touch, spotlight@bbc.co.uk is our email address. Thank you very much.
A police officer who confronted the gunman at the Keyham shootings has received a bravery award from the King. Zach Printer, who has since retired from Devon and Cornwall Police, received the King's Gallantry Medal for his actions during the incident on August the 12th, 2021. Mr Printer was given the medal at a ceremony at Buckingham Palace and says the experience was very humbling. Today marked the end of an era as the last Royal Navy's nuclear-powered Trafalgar-class submarine returned home to Plymouth before being decommissioned. HMS Triumph sailed from Scotland back to her home port in Devonport after serving for nearly 34 years. She flew the Jolly Roger flag from her fin and will be officially decommissioned early next year. Now, when it comes to choosing a Christmas tree, size, it seems, is becoming more of a deciding factor. According to one South West grower, more people are opting for skinny trees. The trend, driven by convenience, means people aren't forced to move furniture around to accommodate the broader varieties, as John Danks reports.
It's time for Yuletide trees to end their outdoor existence and take up residence in homes and public places throughout the country.
The annual ritual of buying a real tree for Christmas.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
But how many of us see that perfect one, only to discover when you get home that you've bought a supersized spruce? It's a situation the owners of this plantation near Liscard are familiar with.
They take their tree and when they see it in the field growing, it all looks lovely and small. But by the time they've got it home, it's almost like it's doubled in size. So they get their proportions a little bit wrong. So they they come prepared now, and they know what size they want.
And this festive season, the trend is smaller, skinnier trees.
It always used to be people would want an 8-foot tree, but it seems to be people going for a slightly smaller tree this year, a 6-foot tree, and always quite a slender tree, nothing too fat. I mean, they want a dense tree, but nothing too fat that's going to make them have to move some furniture out of the house.
The move to smaller, slimmer trees may be underway, but for some, Christmas will always be a case of go big or go home. John Danks, BBC Spotlight.
What are you gone for this year? Big and bushy or slim and trim? We'd love to see some pictures, and your tree could be featured on Spotlight tomorrow. There's a threat. Now, the weather and Storm Dara have dominated the news over the last 7 days, and just 3 weeks ago, it was snow and ice that caused major problems in the southwest. But today, in East Devon, ice is proving to be nothing but fun. Richard Green has been to West Point Arena to find out why.
The Devon County Showground has undergone a big freeze. The beast of a venue in the east has become the home of a massive Christmas ice rink, and it's unique.
There's no ice rink really like it in Devon. It is huge, so we can get about 350 skaters on this ice rink per session. It's over 12,000 square metres of real ice. So yeah, there's lots and lots of skating to be done between now and the 5th of January.
Ahead of the Icescape grand opening, Team GB ice skaters will be performing spectacular routines.
I really enjoy having the opportunity to spread the sport that I love. When we do competitions and championships, it's very intense, it's quite serious, so it's nice to skate for the enjoyment and also to be in a position where I can share it with other people through the Christmas period I really enjoy.
If you come with your friends, it's a really good opportunity because then you get to share like moments together where like, I know it's going to hurt a little bit, but falling together, like helping each other up is a lot of fun as long as you don't hurt yourself, but it's going to be good.
So whether you're dancing on ice or even stumbling on ice, you can have a go at ice skating here at West Point. And you never know, you might end up being pretty good at it.
Leisure skaters will take to the ice after the professionals, but even the pros are impressed by the festive facility in East Devon.
We've done ice skating shows on smaller rinks than this, and it's a bit difficult to cram in your routines into a little rink, but when we came to West Point, it's a massive ice rink, and it seems like a nice size to get all of our stuff done, please the crowd. It's cool, it's very nice.
Richard Green, Torval and Dean protégé, BBC Spotlight, West Point.
Now, just before the weather, the results are in for the South West's Unsung Hero Award, and this year's winner is Ian Bennett from Croyd in North Devon. Ian's mission is to make the ocean accessible for all through his work with the Wave Project charity, as well as volunteering with the Croyd Surf Lifesaving Club and the England Adaptive Surf Team. He'll be live on BBC Radio Devon's Breakfast Show in the morning, and we'll share his story with you on Spotlight tomorrow night. Fantastic stuff. Let's have a look at the weather forecast now, and we're hoping for calm times.
We're hoping for warmer weather, I think.
Yes.
Thanks, Victoria. Hello, good evening. I've got that in the forecast as well. Today is being very grey. Many of our weather watchers' pictures just reflecting how dull the weather has been, and it will continue in the same vein tomorrow. Some subtle differences. Perhaps a bit more in the way of showery activity developing through the day. And then as we go into the weekend, that's when we're going to see the change. It won't be as cold, but it's going to feel pretty cold again tomorrow, often rather cloudy. Winds are very light now compared to how we started the week, and we are continuing to see this thick layer of cloud. It's trapped within the area of high pressure, which is much weaker now, and moving away from us. And this layer of cloud you see on the satellite picture here, that's actually starting to produce a few spots of light rain and drizzle here and there. It's trapped underneath the area of high pressure, which moves away from us, and this cold front's coming down from the northwest. That'll introduce perhaps some patchy rain overnight tomorrow night and at first on Saturday morning, but it's moving fairly steadily. That's its midday position on Saturday. Once it goes through, perhaps some brighter weather. Might even get a hint of sunshine on Saturday afternoon towards the end of daylight hours. Sunday, we've got a westerly wind returning around the top of this area of high pressure. That westerly wind will give us a higher temperature, and by the time we get to Monday of next week, look where the air's coming from. It's coming from Spain, Portugal, round the area of high pressure to us, which is going to help with the temperatures. Back up into double figures, nowhere near as cold as it's felt this week. So for the detail, tonight there's just a chance of a few showers coming out of that cloud, and I think that will continue overnight. Not everywhere seeing rain or light drizzly showers, but certainly the risk is there. Another very grey start to the day tomorrow morning, and minimum temperatures a bit higher than earlier in the week, between 4 and 6 degrees overnight tonight. Light winds as well. So tomorrow we're going to start the day with a lot of cloud, a few showers here and there, mostly in the south, but some developing elsewhere too as the day progresses. And we do have a lot of cloud for most of the day. So unfortunately, it's going to be another grey day, and in places another damp day as well, with temperatures probably getting up to about 7, maybe 8 degrees. So tomorrow we are still in that cold air. But as I mentioned at the start, we are going to see changes to those temperatures as we move into the weekend. For the Isles of Scilly here, lots of cloud around, and I think just a few drizzly showers possible here, just 8 degrees the top temperature. These are our times of high water. For Falmouth, that's at 3:01 and 15:23, Minehead 4:13 and 16:39. And the winds are much lighter. They are from the east or northeast tomorrow, force 3 to 4. Then those winds become variable and light through the afternoon. Things change though as we move into the weekend. We pick up that westerly breeze, which will increase too. So let's look at that forecast right through the weekend and into next week. Quite a mixture of weather for the next few days. I think for Saturday and Sunday, we'll get some morning showers on Saturday and still on the cool side. But by Sunday, we've got westerly winds and those temperatures back up to 11 or 12 degrees. Next week, we are going to be quite unsettled. And in fact, towards the end of the week, it becomes quite windy again. We're keeping a close eye on that because there could be a new area of low pressure, which will bring some rain and some strengthening winds. But it will also lift the temperatures. We go from 6, 7 degrees, is what we've been at for most of this week, back up to between 11 and 13 degrees. And I think for most of us, a little bit of mildness coming back is no bad thing. It's been a cold week so far. Have a nice evening. Victoria.
Loads of Christmas tree pictures coming in from people. Thank you so much, Jean, Teresa, Jules, Louisa and Chris. That is an absolute whopper. We hope to show it again tomorrow. See you then. Good night.